Welcome to the Factory Futurist Podcast, where we profile the thought leaders, technologies, and companies revolutionizing high-tech manufacturing. We learn from the best about how they sustain high-performance leadership in technology, their personal life, and their companies. If you're just joining the podcast, my name is Drew Allen. I'm the host, and when I'm not chatting with these fine folks, I'm the VP of Strategic Development at Grace Technologies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Today, I'm excited to have on Mike Marks. Mike Marks co-founded Indian River Consulting Group in April 1987. He began his consulting practice after working in distribution management for more than 20 years. Over the years, his narrow focus in B2B channel-driven markets has created an extensive number of deep executive relationships within virtually every business vertical in construction, industrial, OEM, agricultural, and healthcare. This is a super important message for every manufacturer, distributor, and person in the industrial automation space today as we are grappling with the devastating effects of the coronavirus. This is not his first rodeo in a crisis situation, and his extensive background is incredibly helpful here. Please enjoy this podcast as much as I have. Again, here's Mike Marks. That's a pretty good segue into the second portion of this conversation. Talk to me about leadership in crisis. What is the executive? What do the floor managers need to be? The attitude that they need to be taking, their communication strategies, and what do executive leaderships and system integrators, distributors, and manufacturers? What's the tact and the tactics and strategies that they need to be putting in place besides the business safeguards we discussed earlier?
Well, the business safeguards, that should have happened on day one, and it needs to be monitored and maintained. But in a crisis, leaders lead. And I mean, if you look at history is the same thing happening over and over again. I mean, if you can go back long before the bubonic plague was the I can't remember, it started with an A, but it was a virus that went through and killed, it basically destroyed the Roman Empire. And what happened when Marcus Aurelius was Caesar back then, he saw what was going on, and they went through they sold all kinds of royal possessions and generated cash because all their coffers, they couldn't get the taxes. They had a big financial problem. And then he stayed there and led through the whole thing. And while people were dying, and a lot of the executives, the sort of rich people where it's all about me, screw everybody else. I mean, at some point they'll all die out, but a real leader is going to be concerned with people, and I mean, there's so much stuff that's out there in terms of what they need to do. It's like there's an old saying again from Marcus Aurelius that says, "Stop talking about what a good man should be and just be one." Mm. Most people actually know, and it's basically, I mean, sort of does that leader have the courage to do what needs to be done, which is making hard decisions. I mean, a lot of people, it's like, oh, this is painful, I don't want to do it. I love my Doberman puppy so much, I can't bear to cut off its tail, so I'll do it 1 inch at a time. And that's not leadership. Mm-hmm. So do they have the courage to do what needs to be done? Because they're the ones that are in charge. Do they have a sense of justice and fair play and thinking about people instead of, how do you find the balance of all of this? And do they have just sort of the wisdom and the critical thinking? And so what you're finding is a lot of people they have titles, but they're not really leaders, and it's going to be exposed. I mean, one of the things that happens is a lot of this stuff will sort itself out as let's just say a crisis is a good way to sort out a lot of the BS that people are slinging around. And we all end up sitting there going, holy crap, we're in a big pile of doo-doo. What are we going to do about it? And off we go. So nothing wrong with a little bit of honesty.
A little bit of honesty. All right. Well, let's just turn to a little bit of the future. Where perhaps your calculus was at the beginning of the year, where you thought, the technological trends were leading in the industrial market, the business model trends. First of all, what were they? What do you think the major trends are? And how do you think the coronavirus has changed that calculus from your part?
Two different things. I think all the coronavirus has done so far is distract everybody. and will probably accelerate the emergence of a lot of those trends that are maybe on the outside. One has to do with digital and just taking processes both inside and outside the company that are digital and that are analog and making them digital. And we have spent a lot of time. We actually teach that course in an executive program at Purdue. But one of the things that I think is going to happen, you're going to see changes in the role of the sales force. The general line self-directed salesperson is rapidly going to become a thing of the past. Forrester did a study back in 2015 and said there's 4.5 million B2B salespeople in the U.S. And by 2020, we're going to lose 1 million of them. And it happened in 2019 because a lot of them are being replaced by inside sales, online ordering, punch out, computer to computer in terms of supply chains. And so a lot of the sort of the traditional deal of the sales guy is going to go out and build relationships. That you're going to see massive changes in how companies do sales and marketing as we go forward. I think from a factory floor point of view, the big thing for me, and I'm definitely on the outside looking in on this. So you ask me, I'll tell you what I think. But remember, I'm old enough that I did drugs in the '60s, so this could all be wrong. But there are a number of major global manufacturers that are trying to, everybody wants to get into the Internet of Things, and that's kind of like the latest, greatest. And it's kind of, if you go back to the early days of the automobile, we had over 130 automotive manufacturers in the U.S. And they all basically went away, and you're seeing an awful lot of that right now. But the big guys, what they're trying to do is, and I'm going to be very careful and not name names, but what they want to do is, I want to lock you up in my ecosystem. I want you to, whatever my brand is, I want to have my brand everywhere and all the rest of it. And this is kind of like the old Betamax and VHS tape wars. And open systems are where it's going to go, being able to play with other people and locking it up. And I think those models were really appropriate. And I think when you start looking at business models and how do you actually design a business model, locking somebody up, I mean, just think about how excited you are with all your software and with Google and Microsoft and Apple and everything else pulling you into the ecosystem where it's hard for you to get out. People don't like that. I don't like to be held hostage by somebody that tells me they're going to take care of me and love me and it's all going to be great, because I know that's not true. So,
all right. Well, thank you very much, Mike. And how can people reach you?
mmarks at IRCG.com, MMARKS at IRCG.com. So, and I'm pretty good at email because we're all working from home now, Drew.
Well, thank you very much for all your advice, and have a great day.
All right. I look forward to chatting. It's really important for the next couple of months that you don't lick any doorknobs.
No licking doorknobs, everyone.
Yeah, that's the key point. All right, man.
Thank you for listening. I'm Drew Allen. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode.